Hello. How you guys doing? Excellent. Welcome to our stage with lamps. This is Story Club Boston. Welcome. It's nice to talk to you guys. How are you? Decent? You're decent. You're fine. You're like, we were just talking to you.
It's like a Tuesday night and everybody's here and stuff. Wow.
Yeah, we're making it happen.
I didn't want to do anything on a Tuesday night. I just stay home.
Cool.
Usually just Monday with less.
Yeah, our
action.
other show's on Monday, so this is a step up for us.
That's it, exactly. So
Cool.
only make it to Wednesday one day. Yeah, it'll be good.
Yeah, don't get
Yep.
greedy. I don't know if we're ever going to make it
Very
to another
cool.
weekday.
But yeah, Story
Cool.
Club Boston. That's
Cool.
what we're doing tonight.
Yes. So Story Club Boston is a show that happens in two places and sometimes a third place, which no one can figure out. So don't worry if you can't figure it out. The story is that we have a show once a month at the Milky Way Lounge, which is in Jamaica Plain. And then sometimes on other days of the month, we're here on Cambridge Community Access Television. And they are awesome because they just let us take over their television studio.
And do things
they're
and
super
say
nice to
stuff
us.
and
Yeah.
say words, and they do it.
Yeah.
And we do other places too. We have to remind everybody we mentioned about the PA thing here.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you're not going
So-
to hear yourself. I know you used to. You got people used to like hearing the mic come out. This is going directly to the whatever the magic system they use back there. But just trust us. Everybody can hear you. Speak loud enough; they'll be able to hear you, and everything will be fine. But don't get fooled. Everything is okay.
You're in a fake world,
Yep.
so when things are fake, they
Actually,
are.
none of this is going out. We're just doing it for our own enjoyment, just to watch. Let's see how many people will actually get up here and do what we tell them to do.
You're
So
in.
that's all.
You're
Yeah.
in my house. You don't realize it, but that's where we are. You're never
That's it.
leaving. It's cool.
Yeah.
cool.
We didn't introduce you. This
or
is
you.
well, me either. We're different people, sure. This is Angela Sawyer, one of the best comedians in town.
Oh, that's
She's
so
a
nice.
storyteller and
Thank
a
you.
musician. She's everything. I don't know what else she does. There's too many
I
things
don't
there.
have a husband. That's what I do. Cool. Yeah, and the guy who invented who runs the Boston chapter of Story Club
Right.
and makes it all happen. He's been running the show for like 7 or 8 years. Ken Green, you guys, he's amazing.
Right.
Yeah, super good storyteller. Love him.
Right. Now, with that introduction, I'm going to get the heck out the way.
Okay.
and let you
and
handle
then,
it from here on.
we're
and
also
stuff.
we're both gonna get out of the way.
All
We're
right.
gonna have stories.
Should I leave this here, or they can figure
Yeah,
out what they want to do?
I'll make mine go away.
Perfect.
How's that
Okay, I
sound?
will talk
Wonderful.
back with you later.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Cool. Yeah, Ken's awesome. What else? Do I need to tell you anything else? Also, the person who runs Story Club also is Kim Fox. She's our treasurer. She's here in the audience. She's so great. Without her, Ken and I would probably never have taken in one dime. Not that we've taken in a ton of dimes, but like, but all of the dimes are her fault. She's really good at it. Cool. Yeah. What else do you need to know? Do you need to know anything? Here's the thing. I think that everyone on the earth has a story that needs to be told, and that's what I really like about Story Club Boston is that one of the things we do is at our monthly show, we have people from the audience just get up and tell a story that they want to. Sometimes we have little themes, and I usually screw up those themes. And it's a good time. It's a really fun, like, intimate show, so we're happy to have you. TV world that probably will never hear me, we're happy to have you too. Cool. So we're going to get started. Often when we do this, I'll tell one and Ken will tell one, but we're going to go in the middle. I don't know why. But I'm very excited to bring up a performer. Your first performer tonight, he is hilarious. He recently won like a local contest. He beat me. I came in second, and he just kicked my ass. He whipped the pants off me. He was great. And he does shows all over New England. He's incredibly funny. If you don't love him already, you are about to. Please give it up right now for James Husey.
Thank you so much, Angela. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. Oh, no one heard any of that because my mouth was not on the microphone. How are we doing? Yeah, I won that contest. It's completely meaningless. I won a microphone. But without a cable or anything. I just got just this part, and that's my life now. I got it. You didn't. Like, that's it. after high school, this is what happened in high school. I was incredibly cocky. I don't know if this tucked in shirt will tell you that. I was incredibly cocky, thought I was the king of the world. And so in high school, I applied to 2 colleges without doing any research. I got rejected from 2 colleges without doing any research, right? And so I found myself senior year of high school, I didn't have anything to do. I was like, well, my friends are going off to college. I'm not. Like, I had a good GPA, but I did not learn how applying to college works. So what I ended up doing is I signed up and I did AmeriCorps for a year. Anybody ever done AmeriCorps? No, you have? You oversaw America. How on the ball were they? Did they seem like intelligent people, or did they seem like people who just couldn't even apply to college right? Like, even when there's a department at their public school dedicated to teaching them how to do that. Yeah, no, it's a grab bag. Basically, when I was there, it was 2009. It was right after the housing crash, and like everybody in AmeriCorps was just college graduates who couldn't find a job. But it's a Freudian slip. And then there was me. And so a lot of AmeriCorps things, you've got a couple different kinds of AmeriCorps. There's Vista, and that's what they do. They send you to like schools, and you're in this group of people, and you're wearing like the same uniform, and like it's really like a bonding experience. There's NCCC. I forget what all the letters stand for, but basically they send a group of you to like an impoverished area. You build part of a house, and then you move and you build part of a house because like they don't want to teach you how to build an entire house. They don't want to. It's a niche market, right? And then I was in the flavor of AmeriCorps called State and National, an individual placement in State and National. And so I was mentioning all the other AmeriCorps groups had like people, right? It was a bunch of people. It was just me. It was one person. I moved to a tiny impoverished town in Washington called Colville, Washington. Anyone ever been there? I'm not asking it because I'm expecting a response. It's a terrible place. Don't go. It's like if medical bills were a town. Is you're looking at it, you're like, it's not going to be that bad. Then you get there, like, oh, this is bad. This is really bad, right? Got another one. It's like if NASCAR were a town, right? It looks fun. You get there. There's a lot of racism. There's a lot more racism than you thought there'd be, given what's here. Like, so I ended up there, and my job was I was a home inspector. I would go into people's houses, and I would inspect them. And when I say houses, I mean trailers. I would go into trailers exclusively and assess them for environmental awareness and structural integrity. Here's a spoiler alert. Trailers are in no way structurally sound. Not in any way, shape, or form. If you own a trailer, you've just been screwed. Like, know that you were fucked. So my job was I had to inspect all the trailers, and it wasn't like I'd go into like a nice trailer. Like, all the people who signed up for this assistance were like hoarders, and I'm not joking. I'm not exaggerating. Every single trailer I went into was a hoarder's trailer. Smells bad. If you've seen the show Hoarders, you know what my nightmares are like, right? Like, so I would go in, and this is there's some funny things that happened while I was there. Like, my favorite was I had to go under a trailer. That was part of the inspection. You did the inside, you went under to assess what the undercarriage was like. Anybody ever been under a trailer before? Keep asking all these redundant questions. So it's shitty. I would go under these trailers, and there was some good and bad shittiness. There was a good shittiness. I went under, and there was a bunch of like freshly turned earth and like work gloves and a bag of lime. Like powdered lime. Now, if anybody knows what the main use of powdered lime is, it is to make sure mass graves don't smell like mass graves. So I like went under, and I was like, oh, someone's been buried here recently, right? And like got up, and the woman was like, oh, did you see anything? I was like, I saw nothing. I saw nothing under there. Do not worry, right? There was one trailer we went to, and it was kind of a big trailer. Like, what they do is you get your like tiny trailer from the 60s, and then your buddy sells his like bigger trailer from the 70s, and what you do is you just knock out the middle walls and you duct tape them together. I shit you not, you duct tape them together. So I was under one of those, and it was kind of just a shit show under there, right? And there were a bunch of feral cats everywhere, and I'm like crawling underneath this trailer, and the cats are like with me, but like not with me, right? And I get to a point, I have my little flashlight, and I just saw just a carcass. Just a goat carcass. Just a dead goat. And the cats are looking at me and looking at the carcass. I'm like, are you seeing this shit too? Like, there's a dead goat under here. I'm like, I know, cats, I know, right? So I go back up to the person in the house, and I'm like, hey, I found something under there. And they're like, oh, what? And I was like, I found a dead goat, right? And she just went, oh, that's where that went. And I was like, what the hell is happening here? This is not a good job. I got, believe it or not, super depressed there. I was super depressed. I don't know, you guys, a good cure for depression, drugs. Really good. So I tried to buy weed in this tiny ass town in Washington, and like I want you to preface this, I was the only person there my age, I was 18, the only person there my age without 3 kids, right? Like I was an outsider on so many levels. I tried to buy drugs, and like this I had some like friends, and they were like, oh, yeah, we know a guy. I went to this dude's house, he looks at me, goes, no, he's a cop. No. And I was like, I'm not a cop. I just want weed so I can escape from this bullshit. He's like, no. He would not sell weed to me. He would not. The entire time I was there, he refused to do it. I knew he was a dealer. If I was a cop, he would have been arrested. But no, he's like, no, fucking narc. Like, so I tried to find another drug dealer. It got even more depressing, right? So I found this dude. He was like this like 60-year-old guy living in this like row house in this tiny town. And I show up to his house, right? And it just reeks of cigarette smoke. He opens the door. There's like a police scanner going on a table. He's like, oh, come in. And he just wanted to talk to me. So we're sitting at the table listening to the police scanner, right? He's just talking about just some random shit, just like, yeah, a bunch of my buddies are high on mushrooms. They were thrown up, couldn't handle it, the fucking pussies, right? And then we're talking, and then just like he hears some word on the police scanner. He's like, well, hang on. Okay, we're good. I was like, what are you... They said over and out. How is that your trigger? Like, what? Where am I, right? So he's about to sell me drugs, and this girl just comes in from like another room, this like young girl, and she sits down, and he's like, this is my girlfriend, and she goes, oh, do I know you from the high school? And I was like, oh, no, I never went here. She's like, oh, yeah, I dropped out a couple years ago, you know, killing it. And I was like, you're in a 60-year-old drug dealer's home, listening to the police scanner. You're not killing it, right? I bought drugs from him. Don't worry. I got high. It was a thing. I'll wrap this up with the final scary part of this whole year of hell. It was cool. I went to this guy's house, and I'll preface this. I used to just go out alone. We had our jurisdiction. Our area was about 4 counties in Washington, and Washington counties are huge, right? So I would be going all over by myself. I drove this Honda Element. You guys ever seen a Honda Element? It's like that boxy ass car. Hey, here's a fun fact: not a good car, not at all. No, it's driving up mountains. The thing could not handle mountains. It's a 4-cylinder engine, man. The thing was just like, just that. It was bad, right? So I'm in the Honda Elements, this black Honda Elements, got our logo on the side, right? Rural Resources, that was the company I worked for. They've been defunded, don't worry, they're gone, I can say it. So we had Rural Resources, and I was showing up as the last guy of my day, and I'd been driving for about 2 hours to get to his house. I show up there, I ring the doorbell, I've got my little notebook, right, my little papers, and no one's coming to the door. I keep ringing the doorbell, and now at the corner of my eye, I look up, and there's just a dude standing there, looking at me, pointing a gun right at my head. And stop asking you questions. I'd never had a gun pulled on me before, and I don't think, we all kind of think, oh, if I got a gun pulled on me, I'd be okay. You're not going to be okay. You're going to do exactly what they say. It's a gun. That's how that works. That's how it's always worked. That's why people have guns, right? So my reaction was like, I'm so sorry. I looked down. I looked away. I did not make eye contact. I was like, this is stupid, right? I had my hands up, and I just kept yelling the phrase, I don't work for the government. It's just a car. It's just a car, right? So he's got the gun. He sees me, kind of like puts it down, comes to the front door. He opens it, and I'm like, hey, Alan, I'm here from Rural Resources. And he goes, oh, I'm not Alan. No, that's my neighbor. And I was like, oh, sorry. He's like, oh, sorry about the gun. You know, around here, neighbors are kind of crazy, so you got to stay armed. And I was like, great, fantastic. And that's part of my time in Washington. Thank you so much, everybody.
Give it up for the genius, James Husey. He's so good. I love him so much. So glad that his bad time could be our good time. James was talking about having a Honda Element that can't work, and that seems like a really nice car to me. I have what I think of as a nice car now. I have a 2001 Prius, which has both brakes and a carburetor, which is most of what I look for in a car. My previous car, I've only ever had 2. My previous car was a Toyota that I don't know the model of because the thing fell off. The name fell off. And I don't know I have like lady vision when it comes to cars. Like I can't just tell from the shape. I have to look at the little sign. It was a car that went 62 miles an hour tops. And at about just over 55, it would start to shake bad enough that the doors would open and the hood would flap up. So I drove it on the highway a lot. Not a good idea. I would duct tape the hood down before I went on the highway, and I knew I could get as far as Western Mass before the duct tape would come off. So I would go like rest stop to rest stop and retape it. And at one point when I was driving it, I just was too poor to have a car, so I refused to buy any accessories to go with it. So whenever it snowed, I dug it out with my shoe, which seems like I was just punishing myself. But at one point when I was driving it, the carburetor, and I only know, I just know this was the name of it. I don't really know what they are or what they do, but it fell off, fell out. And I don't know when it fell out. I just know that this didn't seem sudden, but slowly, over the course of about a month, the car just started being really slow off lights, like slower and slower to the point where people, and this is Boston, so people would honk really, really hard. And so finally I took it to the guy and I was like, it's really slow off lights. I don't mean to complain, but people hate me. And he's like, you're missing a major part of the car. Okay. I'm very excited for your next performer. This is a guy, so if you have never met me before, I run a thing that is called an open mic every week, and that is like a devil's gathering of evil idiots. It means you're a cult leader for people with severe mental disabilities. It is a place where anyone can come, show up, put their name in a literal bucket, and then say whatever they want. So it's very evil. Really bad place. But once in a while, the good thing about it, the reason that I do it, is that every once in a while I see somebody and I'm like, you're awesome. And it's super, super rewarding whenever that happens because, as I said, most people, the bar is not high. Several people go there who cannot actually put a sentence with words in it. It's very difficult. So this guy came there and I was like, oh, shit. I was super, super psyched to see him. And I think you guys are going to love him a lot. So right now, please welcome to the stage Raul Barón.
Thank you. What's up, everybody? Thanks for coming out. I hate birds, like a lot. I don't trust them, and I think the feeling's mutual. Like they'll just swoop on me, and it's not a good time between me and the avian creatures. And my fears of birds culminated at one point on vacation with my family when they thought it was a good time to go to the largest ostrich farm in South Africa. So they picked the largest bird and the highest concentration of them. And we're like, this will be great for you. You'll grow. So we get there, and I'm already like, this is not farms, not my scene to begin with. I don't know if you can tell. And what they do first is they show you like this informative video all about the ostrich trade. But most of the video is just really focused on how their kicks can kill you. So I'm like, okay, I need to do something. And I go to the gift shop they have, and I buy an ostrich leather belt. Because I think I need to establish dominance before I encounter these monsters. Just let them know where in the food chain we're at before we're actually interacting. From then they go, okay, we're going to take a look at this ostrich egg now. The tour begins. I don't know why it's an egg. I think they start, and it's just like the course of life. So you go from egg to giant monster. So they show us the egg, and they're like, oh, it has the highest tensile strength of any animal's egg. And to prove it, they picked me and told me to stand on it and jump. So there's this moment where I'm jumping on an unborn ostrich, wearing an ostrich neck around my belt. I feel pretty good, but then I make eye contact with one of them, and I could just tell this is not going to go well. So they go, okay, we have this ostrich over here. Her name's Lucy, and she thinks she's human, which anytime someone says that about any animal is just a complete lie. It's just an especially dumb animal that they've found. So everyone's over there and they're feeding this 6-foot chicken as if it's a normal interaction. And they go, who wants to have an ostrich kiss? It's hard for me to explain to you how much I didn't want that to happen to me. And they pick on me and they go, okay, how about you? And I'm like, okay, sure. So it's been eating normally out of my hand. This will go normal. And they go, okay, I'm like, what's the trick? They go, okay, take a pellet of food and just put it in the corner of your mouth. Like, that's not a trick. So I think it's just going to eat it normally like it had been, but it just starts wildly pecking at my face until it shoves its like salmonella beak inside of my mouth. And I'm like, can we go home now? They're like, no, there's another, it's called an ostrich neck massage. I'm like, I'm done with these. They're like, no, it's fine. I'm like, okay, how bad can a neck massage be? And they hand me the bucket of feed and tell me to back up to the enclosure where all of them are. And it's called a neck massage because just their necks reach over you as they're wildly picking this food bucket. You smell them. They smell my fear. We're all getting along. And they go, okay, well, he clearly hates every second of this. How do we escalate this further? They go, okay, I think it's time for the main event. Who here wants to ride an ostrich? Like, obviously not me. Who here is the only person that came in under the weight limit to ride an ostrich? So I'm starting to get the feeling that they don't really know what they're doing with these creatures. You know, they're just kind of letting them do whatever. And they go, okay, we'll pick one. And the cowboy, bird boy, jumps over into the enclosure and just kind of has a sheep's hook and wrangles one. And it's just freaking out. Like, it's a nightmare. It's screaming a lot. I'm like, oh, I'm good without doing this. We can call it now. Like, it's not into it. It's fine. And then someone comes over and puts, like, a burlap sack over its head. And it's completely calm. You're like, oh, that's where the ostrich head sand thing comes from. I'm not comfortable with this. He doesn't seem to be consenting to this situation. But they trot over this Guantanamo Bay prisoner in his bagged head into this corral, and then they're like, okay, now get on. So I'm like, oh, normal thing to say. So I get on, and I'm it's got the sloped back. I'm holding onto it. It's like super buff wings. I'm just critically aware of how much of a dinosaur this thing is, and its neck is here. And right before they kind of go, they're like, oh, by the way, they don't naturally have an instinct to be ridden. They run exclusively to get you off of them. I was like, what? And then they take the bag off its head, and I think it's going to go. Nope. It's just standing there, and it turns around and looks at me. And it just starts screaming into my face, and then it goes. And I'm caught way off guard. It's going. I saw the old-timey videos. I'm trying to steer its neck and stuff. It's not working. And all I hear from way in the back is a large South African man just going, lean back! Lean back! Because in my panic, I'm hugging the chest, the breast of this enormous turkey. And I'm going too far forward, and I'm knocking its center of balance off. Which is bad when you only have two enormous creepy legs. So it trips on itself. And I just go straight over the handlebars. And it falls. But then I get up. I'm covered in ostrich shit, which is just not how I wanted this day to go. And I look around, and there's a good 40, 50 ostriches in this enclosure with me. There's no rodeo clowns in this ostrich situation. So I panic and just dart and somehow maneuver through them. You know, I make eye contact with one of their evil, glassy, enormous eyes. I'm just like, okay, this is never going to go well. Finally get out. And they go, congratulations, you're the first person here ever to crash an ostrich. Thanks. And they go, I think you might like this bit. We're going to go cook up some ostrich burgers. I'm like, yes, I am down with this part. So I'm taking this perverse glee in eating these burgers. Just looking at them, like wearing their friend's neck around me. Like, I've dominated this species today. And you guys, I feel like we've bonded enough over this story that I can be perfectly honest with you. And you might think less of me. But I did take little parts of that ostrich burger and walk up to the enclosure and feed it to the ostrich that I crashed. All right, thank you guys. I'm Raul.
Give it up for Ostrich Hitler Raoul. That was amazing. That was such a good story. Thank you very much. I have never met an ostrich, so I'm very, yeah. I'll stay away, I promise. I'm very excited for your next performer. This guy runs an amazing show in New Hampshire. He's been doing comedy about almost as long as I have. I see him around town everywhere, and he's a slayer. You guys are going to love him to death. Please welcome right now Tyler Morrow.
Hey there. I just moved in with my girlfriend recently. That's what's going on in my life. It's been quite like a learning process. That's when that happens, it kind of like she's learned that these are the only pair of jeans I own. This is it. And I learned that she has night terrors. So we're learning. I was with her for 2 years before we ever moved in together. Slept next to her a bunch of times. Never a peep, never a scream. And then that first night together, we're sleeping. In the middle of the night, she just yells out full volume, "Satan is here!" And then goes right back to sleep, just unconscious, like an angel. Like an angel. I just wake up. You look over. She's asleep. Satan is here. I look out in the dark. Like, is this it? Is this how it happens? He just shows up, and so like it's weird because I figured it was her, but we just moved in. I don't want to wake her up on that first night together, 4 a.m. I'm like, hey, did you say Satan's here? Was that you? Like, because I'm worried she's gonna be like, yes, I did. And you're like, oh no. What have I done? How long's this lease? Not really done for. But now that we're together, it's that next step's coming, which is the ring. I've been a lot of talk about the ring, which worries me. It scares me. I have a lot of friends who have gotten married. That's kind of where the story comes from. It's just because I've had to go to all these awful like bachelor parties. Like they used to be like good, I guess, like one lifetime ago. Like a bunch of guys had a great time and they all went and got drunk. Like not anymore. Like I had to go to a Jack and Jill last year. Yeah, and those who don't know, it's when you take a bachelor party, a bachelorette party, you put them together and ruin them both. Like everyone's just scared to have fun. Like, can we do this? Like, the worst one I went to was in Missouri. I had to fly to Missouri on Halloween weekend for a costume bachelor party. Yeah. All the guys gonna get in their costumes and go out, have a good time. I lose my Halloween weekend for this too. So I got like an email about it, right? I get an email, so like I look at the email and I'm so mad. I'm like, I'm not even gonna read this email ever. I'm like, I just like push it from my life. I'm like, this is the worst thing. I kept pushing it off, and then like a couple days before I flew out there, I was like, just give in, just buy. You're gonna be like the total a-hole who doesn't show up and doesn't go along with it. So I go out to the store, and the only thing they had left, it was like 2 days before Halloween. The only thing that fit me as well was a Scooby-Doo costume. So I'm like, I'm going to Missouri as Scooby-Doo. This is my weekend. It's not that bad, but like I fly out there and like I land, and the best man picks me up and he's like, all right, so you got your costume and everything? I go, yeah. And this is when I found out there was more to that email that I stopped reading, which is that they had chosen a theme. And so he just looks at me and goes, oh, cool, you got your costume. Which Avenger are you? Scooby? Is Scooby one? Is he in Iron Man 6? Does he show up for a minute or something? Like, dang. And I go, let's just go get another costume. He goes, it doesn't worry, it won't be a big deal. I'm like, it will be a huge deal. It's going to make no sense. And I'm totally right. Like, we end up going out the next night. It's like Captain America. You got like Thor. And then Scooby freaking do? Just walking out to the bar like we're out to have a good time. Which like it was like cool for a bit because like people are nice in Missouri. They were nice to me at least. They like people were yelling at me like, "Yo, Scooby, let me buy you a drink, Scooby." And I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like standing out, so I'm getting stuff. I'm like, this is cool. But standing out can work against you as well because this sad man approached me. He said these sad eyes. He just came up like across and part of me. You could feel his presence, and I was like, "It's weird." And I go, "Like, what's going on?" And he goes, "I love Scooby Doo." I was like, "I'm not him." Like, everything here says it, but I don't even know the dude. Like, I have nothing to do with this guy. Like, I don't like this. And he's weird, awkward. He's like, I know. He's like, but would you do acid with me? I was like, no. I'm sorry. Like, I'm dressed as Scooby Doo. I'm in Missouri. I got a lot going on. Like, I can't do that. And he goes, oh, I just always wanted to do acid with Scooby Doo. I was like, that'll never happen. So I felt super bad. I was like, this was his shot. He was like, here it is. And I was like, no, I'm not. I'm like, I'm really sorry. I'm not going to do it. And he like kind of like was like, okay. He just kind of like went away. And I was like, get over it. It's a weird thing, but you know, you're Scooby. Let's have a good time. Let's get into this as a bachelor party. People are giving me free drinks. So I start drinking more and more. I get drunk, super drunk. I get to this point where like, I'm like, if I have another drink, like I'm going to pass out. Like I got to slow down. This is my last one. And like, as I'm thinking that, the sad man comes back into my life with a drink in hand, an open just container. And he goes, hey, Scooby, drink this. And I'm like hammered, peer pressure and all that. So I was just like, Ruby Doo, let's do it, right? And I just drink it. And it tasted weird, right? Tasted funny. I was like, that don't taste like all beer. That tastes weird, right? And I looked at him. I just go, hey, was there acid in that, right? And I don't remember what he said because it was tomorrow, right? Everything just ended there, and I just woke up. I was on a couch in a house I've never been in Missouri. I'm just like, I think Missouri. I was like, wake up. I'm like, what the hell? And I looked down at the ground. My cell phone, my wallet, my keys are there. I'm like, there's a God. like I have those things. Like I can figure my life out from here. I can figure it out. And I look at my phone's dead. I go, I can solve that problem too. I get up. I run out of the house. I still don't know who lives there. I guess it's the sad man. I mean, it's probably going to come out in therapy at some point. But I don't know for sure. Like, I don't know. So I leave. I start walking down the street. I'm like, I just got to like find like some way to charge this phone. I'm just like, I got to figure my life back out. And like, as I'm walking down the street, there's this lady walking towards me with her kid. She gave me this dirty look. And I'm like, I look like shit. Like I've been drinking all night. I think I was on acid. Like I've had a rough time. And then as she gets closer to me, like her daughter just looks up and goes, Mom, look. It's Scooby-Doo. And I forgot. I was like, oh, shit, I'm Scooby. Like, and I don't do impressions. I don't do them. So I was like, Ruby Doo, kid. Like, your mom's a good lady. Do good things. Don't do this. Don't do that. I just like scurry off because I'm like, I don't know what to do. I'm in a bad situation. So I keep walking down the street. I get to a gas station. I'm like, thank God. Right, and I go inside. Guy behind the counter gives me a dirty look as I deserve it. And he goes like, ugh. I'm like, oh, I know, Scooby-Doo. I'm having a rough time here. I go, my phone died. I need a charger. You sell chargers? And he goes, yeah, we got it behind the counter. I go, perfect. He goes to grab it. And as he comes back around, he goes, you look like you had a rough Halloween. And I go, yeah, man, I don't even know where I am right now, right? And he goes, oh, you're in Mexico. I was like, what? I was like, oh, like, because I didn't know there was a Mexico, Missouri. So I'm like, my life's over. I don't know what to do now. Like, I was in such shock. I didn't know what to say. I just literally was like, gracias. Like, I just paid him like, yes, senor. Like, thank you. And I pay him. I just go outside. I'm just like done for. I'm just walking out the front door. Like, my life's over. I don't know what happens here. What happens next? What's the next step? I go outside the front of the building. There's an outlet. I plug it in, start charging my phone. I get it charged. I call my buddy Dave. I'm like, I get him on the phone. He goes, dude, like, where have you been, man? I'm like, I hope you're sitting down, Dave. I'm in Mexico right now. And he lives in Missouri, so he knows exactly where Mexico, Missouri is. He goes, oh, perfect. Where in Mexico? I'm like, the Exxon Mobil? Like that? He goes, perfect. I'll come pick you up. I'm like, you're not understanding the severity of this at all, Dad. Like, I don't own a passport. I think I have to live here now. I think it's over for me. And he explains it to me. I'm an idiot. I'm like, like, of course, like, everything. The guy spoke in English. I didn't pay him in, like, pesos or anything, right? Like, I'm a moron, of course. I could have put 2 and 2 together. And, like, I'm like, so he comes, he picks me up. I get in the car, and he looks at me. He goes, dude, you still wearing that Scooby costume? I'm like, yeah, sure. Friggin' idea. We're going to go out. Halloween, big Saturday night, all the guys. Saturday. He goes, yeah, but it's Tuesday now. I was like, what? It's Tuesday? I'm like, how long have I been on acid for? And it made perfect sense in that moment where I was like, that's why I'm getting all these dirty looks, man. Because you're Scooby-Doo the day after Halloween. People are like, good for you, man. Like 2-3 days later. It was like, this guy's not made for this world, man. This guy's going to die. And I was just like, all right, so do we got to talk to the police or something? There's got to be a police report out. He goes, no, man, we thought you went home. I'm like, you thought I went back to Boston? Like the ultimate Irish goodbye. I just got on a plane and just flew away. I'm like, see you later. And that's why I'm scared to get engaged and married. Thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate it.
I love that that's why you're scared to get married, because I haven't met your girlfriend, but I assume she is better looking than Shaggy. I assume. Fantastic. That was an amazing story. I'm glad that you made it back from Mexico. Good job. Cool. Your next performer coming to the stage, I'm so excited. He is the guy who runs the show. As far as I'm concerned, he invented the whole thing. He's like, no. He did. Don't worry. It's true. He's an amazing, amazing storyteller, and I'm very excited for you guys to hear him if you've never met him before. Please welcome to the stage right now, Ken Green.
All right, thanks, Angela. The other thing about Story Club Boston is that I tell stories without paper, but I'm more of a writer. I used to work at newspapers, and I try to write plays and stuff. I'm more of a writer, so I usually write my stories down. But if you want to come there, if you feel like I don't memorize stories. I'm a writer, bring those too. As long as they're written down, whatever you want to do. Not other shows you have to memorize your stories. Don't worry about it. Just bring it down, write it. So that way you open up to everybody, because people get intimidated. And I forget things a lot too, so I need paper because I'm old. So yeah, I don't know. Anyway, it's about this neighborhood bully we had when I was a kid. So okay, Chicago has a long history of being home to some tough guys. Gangsters and thugs like Al Capone, Bugs Moran, Babyface Nelson, Tony Big Tuna Carter, who once persuaded a famous wrestler to change his mind about creating a mob-inspired wrestling tag team. There was Sam Momo Giancana, who when he wasn't being a gangster, was coming up with ways to poison Fidel Castro. And he was shot in the head in his kitchen while making sausage and peppers. He was. There was Larry Hoover and Willie Lloyd and Jeff Ford, the leaders of the El Rucan Street Gang, and even John Dillinger hung out there. And then there was Liddell Hackney. Now, you might not have heard of Liddell Hackney, and that's probably because Liddell Hackney was only 13 years old during his reign of terror. But he was the John Dillinger of our neighborhood. Everybody was afraid of Liddell Hackney. There were some grown-ass adults who were afraid of Liddell Hackney. We were so afraid of Liddell Hackney that we always call him by his full name, Liddell Hackney, out of a combination of respect and fear. I'm not 100% sure, but there were probably a few kids who might have actually called him Mr. Liddell Hackney. We were afraid of Liddell Hackney because he looked and acted as tough as his name sounded. He was 13, but could easily pass for 18. Not because he was taller than the rest of us or necessarily bigger than any of us, but because at 13, he just looked like someone who had already had a rough life and didn't give a fuck. Liddell Hackney had about 8 other brothers and sisters, and they all lived at a loud house at the end of this block and fought each other every day. And they didn't fight out of anger or injustice or rage. They just fought because it's just what they did. Other families sat down to dinner together and talked about that day or played board games like Clue or Scrabble on family game night. His family fought like a bunch of cats zipped up in a duffel bag. You could hear them from the street when you walk by, things being knocked over, glass breaking, shouts, maybe a scream or two, all while the stereo blasted James Brown like it was some funky soundtrack to mindless violence. On the few times I was actually brave enough to go inside the Hackney house, I saw a fight immediately start because someone walked a little too close to someone else on their way to the refrigerator. Suddenly there was a tangle of bodies rolling around the floor, girls and boys, cocked arms and chokeholds, knocking over milk glasses and ketchup bottles, and all just threatening to pull me in like a thuggish black hole. Liddell Hackney wasn't the most feared neighborhood bully, but it's easily in the top 3. There were some of us who had never actually been beaten up by him or actually seen him beat anyone, which is what bullies traditionally are supposed to do. But we heard enough plausible stories, rumors, and neighborhood legends floating around about him that made us work hard to stay off his bad side. He was the only kid I knew with legends. Someone supposedly saw Liddell Hackney put a kid in a chokehold until that kid passed out. Liddell Hackney supposedly kicked another kid off the top of the jungle gym just for the hell of it, and the kid fell and died. Liddell Hackney was sent to the principal office because he punched a teacher in the head. Some of us never saw Liddell Hackney actually beat anyone up, but I could attest that he was unusually strong from our wrestling games that started out as play and ended up with me convinced my ear or some other part of my head was about to be ripped off. I could also attest that Liddell Hackney was crazy by the way he would jump on the swings in the playground, rock them up to about 14 feet in the air, then launch himself out and do a complete backflip and land feet first on the hard asphalt below for no fucking reason. He was crazy and strong, and for that reason, we were afraid of Liddell Hackney. Now, if he liked you, Liddell Hackney would take you stealing. He called it shopping, but after the first trip, you learned quickly that shopping didn't mean an exchange of money for goods and services. It meant you both walk into the store and you suddenly became the lookout man as he ripped open a box of ice cream sandwiches, stuck 2 of them down the front of his pants, pulled his dirty t-shirt over them and walked back out of the store, while you followed like a scared penguin, looking left and right and waiting for a security guard or store manager to slap your hand on your shoulder and tell you to come with him. And then once outside, Liddell Hackney will pull the ice cream sandwiches, which had now been partly melted by the heat of his crotch, and hand you one. And you ate that ice cream sandwich because Liddell Hackney just stole an ice cream sandwich for you, and you figured you better fucking eat it or prepare to get your ass kicked by Liddell Hackney. If you had morals, you swallowed them along with that ice cream sandwich. When Liddell Hackney showed up while we were playing softball or baseball or football, everyone groaned. No matter what the status of the game was in progress, it was automatically his turn at bat or his shot or he was now the quarterback. When Liddell Hackney walked up, whomever was at bat would calmly hand the bat off to Liddell Hackney, and the wrestler would go along until Liddell Hackney got tired and left, and the score went back to what it was before Liddell Hackney got there. Liddell Hackney once made a cake for me and another friend with a stolen Easy Bake Oven. We were on a friend's second floor back porch playing with Hot Wheels, and Liddell Hackney looked across at the second floor porch of the house next door and saw a box that contained someone's Easy Bake Oven. He didn't say a word as he walked downstairs, hopped over the fence, walked up the stairs to the back porch next door, picked up the box with the Easy Bake Oven. He brought it back and opened it like a kid at Christmas, albeit a kid who stole all of his Christmas gifts. He pulled it out of the box, found an outlet, took a bulb out of the back porch light socket, and soon we were eating stolen Easy Bake Oven cakes. Mine was chocolate, I think. I really couldn't chase it over the fear of eating stolen Easy Bake Oven cake and the unpredictability of Liddell Hackney. One of the last times I saw Liddell Hackney was after he'd broken into the house next door to ours. It was empty, the family having moved out of it about a year ago, but they left some of their stuff inside and he would occasionally come by to check on it. No, they would occasionally come by to check on it. We were playing in my backyard when we saw Liddell Hackney calmly walk over to the back door, kick it in, and walk inside. About 10 minutes later, he emerged with an old record player, old even by 1970 standards, and sat it on the stairs. He then went back inside several more times. When he was done, he carted the old record player and 2 suit jackets back to his home down the street. The family found out about it a day or 2 later when they came to check on their old house and immediately called the police. As the police stood outside talking, they saw a bunch of us nosy kids watching them. They came over and we all tensed up. Any of you kids see anybody go in there? One cop asked. I just remember that cop's head was huge and intimidating. I don't know why, fear, a respect for authority and the rule of law, Catholic school guilt, but I blurted out, Liddell Hackney! My friend's jaws dropped like bags of wet cement out of an airplane. You know where he lives, the cop asked? His head was even bigger now. I pointed down in the general direction of the Hackney house. They didn't ask specifically which house, so I took that to mean they'd been there enough time to know which one was his. They left, and I stood there as pale as a black kid on the south side of Chicago could possibly look. For the next week, I was convinced I was a dead man. For the next week, people would whisper, Liddell Hackney's looking for you. as if they were only ones with this information. So I'd say, replying, trying to act as if having Liddell Hackney looking for you was no big deal. I was scared shitless. Liddell Hackney. I don't know who told him that I fingered him for the crime. Perhaps the police broke the cop informant privilege rule. But no matter, Liddell Hackney was looking for me. I took to staying in the house for the next few days. But as the week went on, I got bolder and actually started coming outside after school instead of watching reruns of Gilligan's Island. If he hadn't got me yet, maybe Liddell Hackney wasn't after me. Maybe he didn't even know I was the one who had turned him in. Days later, I was riding on the handlebars of my friend Michael Weatherby's bike when he saw Liddell Hackney standing at the end of the block. I thought about telling Michael to turn the bike around or just hopping off and running, but I decided this is it. Whatever happens, happens. I said silent goodbyes to my family. I figured I'd be knocked cold by the first punch, and whatever he did to me after that wouldn't matter because I wouldn't know what was going on anyway. I now regretted not going through with my idea of asking someone to punch me in the jaw so I can get used to it, to the sensation of getting the living hell beat out of me. We stopped on the bike, and Liddell Hackney walked up to me, looked me dead in the eyes, said nothing, and stuck out his hand to shake mine. No, not really. He reared back and punched me squarely in the chest. Surprisingly, it didn't really hurt, but because it was Liddell Hackney, it hurt because it seemed like it should hurt. And that was it. He just turned and walked away. He looked a little hurt, but who could tell with him? He never expressed any emotion other than cunning. He walked off. I got off the bike and walked home. And that was pretty much the last time I ever saw Liddell Hackney. Thanks.
Okay, don't tell Ken your secrets. He'll turn you in.
Right amount of money, you're in.
I'm in a lot of trouble. I'd never had a personal bully. I did, when I was in junior high, get chased down the hallway by a savage gang of Duran Duran fans. But I never had one single bully. But I do recall that when you're in a neighborhood with a bunch of, and everybody, you just know all the other kids in the neighborhood, people get weird ideas about each other as neighbors, definitely. Where I grew up, I'm originally from Denver, Colorado, and it snows there. You knew that. When I was a kid, when I was like 5 or 6, right across the street from me, a family moved in, a really large family. I'm an only child, and this family of like 8 kids moved in right across the street directly from Phoenix, Arizona. We were both like, they probably just were a family with 8 kids that didn't have a ton of money. And so when it first snowed, all the kids came outside in their bathing suits and played in the snow, which seems a very reasonable thing to do. But all the neighbors saw them, and so my mother sat me down that night and told me, don't go across the street to play with that family because they don't own clothes. What she did not realize is that I was 6 and thought clothes were real stupid. And that is how I got to be best friends with one of the people in that family. It was nice. Perfectly nice. Don't listen to your mom. She's awful. Cool. Okay, so I'm very excited for your next performer. She runs a ton of great shows around town. She runs a really cool workshop up in Arlington. It's once a month, yeah? On a Saturday. Last Sunday, sorry. She's so fantastic. You're going to love her to death. Please welcome Sterling Smith.
Liddell. I'm going to remember that one for a long, long time. A couple of months ago, my sisters and I decided to have a mini family reunion. And I am one of 7 children. Not like that neighborhood, not like them at all, but we all go by numbers. I'm number 7. I'm the best of the bunch. You can ask any of them, they will disagree, but I think I'm the best. So I was number 7. I was going with number 5 and number 9, and we were going to visit numbers 2 and 4. My sisters and I have not lived under the same roof for over 20 years, and we were going to be sharing a very small 2 queen size beds in a small hotel room, which is fine. But usually what happens when we travel together, we've traveled a couple of times, but when sometime during that length of time, there's a fight, there's tears, there's accusations, we make up, everything goes fine. This time it didn't really happen, or so I thought. We had a great time in LA, met with my brothers, we went out, we did all the touristy things, we went out for karaoke, went out for dinner, we even went to an improv show, which is new to them, and everything was going great. The last day, which was a Friday, we went to the Warner Brothers tour. I don't know if you guys have been there. It's amazing. Not enough Bugs Bunny. That was my complaint. I put it in the box, and I even sent them an email. Because if it wasn't for Bugs, none of this other stuff would have happened. There would be no Batman. There would be no Beetlejuice without Bugs. And Bugs is going to be 75 coming up, so they better kick ass for this one. Because I made sure that everybody in the place had my opinion and heard it. Where is the rest of the Bugs? So anyway, so we get back to the hotel around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's way too early for me to go to bed. Yet, within 15 minutes, number 5 is in her jammies and horizontal in front of a huge Sony television set. I mean, it's a big honking thing, and I can't figure out why they have such a big TV. It's like a TV. It's like a movie screen 5 feet away from the bed. So she's all set. Number 9 and I decide we're going to pack because we have an early flight the next morning. So we pack up. Everything's going great, and I have plans. I have friends in LA, so I go out. I leave at around 7. I get back at around 1 o'clock in the morning. I am high. I am happy, and I'm so looking forward to hitting the pillow. I lay down. I put my head on the pillow, and I swear it's been minutes, and I hear water. Usually when you hear water, you want to go to the bathroom. I was just having a dream about a tidal wave, and I woke up and I hear water. I'm like, okay, I hear water. I go back to sleep. 20 minutes go by, and I still hear water. And now I'm concerned. Okay, number 5 is taking a shower. No problem with that. But she's been in there for a while. So maybe she had some sort of health incident or something, and I'm like, I would have heard the thud. So I go back to sleep. That's how much I care about my sister at the sleep. So I go back to sleep. I wake up a couple of minutes later, maybe 20 minutes later, and I hear this, like, crinkle, like somebody's rolling up a dead body in a shower curtain. That's what it sounds like. I was tempted to bring a bag, like a CVS bag, and crumple, because that's what it sounded like. But I'm laying there, and I'm like, okay, whatever, it'll stop. It'll go away. It goes away, and then I hear this. And I'm like, I don't think any of us brought anybody home. I would have noticed that. And I hear it again. And what I realize is that a couple of weeks ago, prior to our trip, I taught my sister the 7-minute workout. Check this workout out. It's the best workout ever. And she was doing it. Right? It's a small hotel room. You guys have seen it. She's doing it right there. And I'm like, okay, it's 7 minutes. It'll end soon. Go back to sleep. And I hear whoosh, 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 whoosh. And I realize that I'd never heard anyone else putting on lotion. It's a black thing, but you get it. Because that's something you do alone in a bathroom. I didn't even know what time it was at that point. So I'm like, okay, that's what that sounds like. Live and learn, never stop learning. So then I hear like the folding, the fluffing up of a sheet, which is fine. I don't know why my sister would be making the bed at this hour, but I didn't ask. So I'm going to go to sleep again. I hear something else, and I can't figure out what it is, and I open my eyes, and it's now 6:57. I knew what time it was. It started at 3:17 because I was laying, and I could see the hotel clock. So I'm like, and I wake up and get back, wake up. But I wake up, and I'm like, please, just let me go to sleep. I'm just asking for an hour of no noise, nothing. And this whole time, I'm sharing the queen size bed with my sister, number 9, and she is laughing. But we're doing it quietly because number 5 is a bitch. She's got I've never seen a woman She's got a temper that all other my brothers and sisters could not compare to her temper. So we don't want to piss her off, even though I don't know why are we whispering? But she's laughing, and I'm laying in bed going, this is it. God, this is it. This has been happening since 3:17. But number 9 is cracking up, and I'm doing this all under my breath because I don't want to get her bad. Which is kind of immature because we're all over a certain age, but it doesn't matter. So I'm laying there going, okay, I'm just going to try and go back to sleep. She'll stop giggling. I'll go to sleep. She'll stop doing whatever the hell she's doing. But no, she doesn't. She flicks on, and this is a small hotel room. The bathroom is right there. So all of a sudden, the bathroom light is going flick, 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 flick. It's 7:10 right now. Flick, 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 flick. And what she had figured out was that she had plugged in her curling iron, and it was going off when she shut the light off. So there must have been something wrong with the break or something. I'm like, click, 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 click. I'm like, are you trying to drive me insane? And again, number 9 is like, I thought there was an earthquake. We were in LA. So anyway, at this point, it's 7:15. I'm like, that is it. I get out of bed. She's got the curling iron. I push her out of the way. I'm like, I go take a shower, come out. I'm in and out within 15 minutes. I even did the 7-minute workout. Got out, got dressed. I'm looking at her, and she's in bed. Oh, no, she's sitting on top of the bed. She had stripped the bed. Who does that when you're staying at a hotel? There's no reason for you to be stripping the bed. We don't have to do the laundry. So anyway, I'm like, I'm standing there. I'm like, what is going on? And she's like, what? The bed's not made. Why? Is there some reason that you, who stayed in horizontal for 12 hours, couldn't have done any of this stuff while I was out? Did number 9 and I not pack our stuff before so we'd be ready in the morning? Yes. Did number 9 or I get up in the middle of the morning and put all of her, what she had been doing is she has CVS and tags bags that she wraps her stuff in. That was the body being rolled in the shower curtain. Could you not do the 7-minute workout in the bathroom, which is what I had been doing the whole week? Did I wake anybody up? No. I was quiet. Check out the 7-minute workout. I'm telling you, it's the best workout ever. Did I do any of the stuff that you couldn't have done in this? You had hours to do these things while I was out having a good time. She's sitting on the bed, and she's getting more and more confused. And number 9 is looking at her going, I don't understand it either. So and she sits there, and she takes a minute, and I'm fuming. And I don't get upset. I really, really don't. Not like number 5 does. But I don't get as upset as maybe I should have, whatever. I try to be sort of reasonable. So she's sitting, and I'm looking at her and I'm thinking about my mother going, this is what Dolores would do. I don't understand. And you sit there and you just take it. And she takes a moment, takes a breath, and she goes, well, I was doing it in the dark. What does that mean? And all I can think of is the tagline for Alien. In space, no one can hear you scream. And I said that. I said, well, on this planet, if you're huffing and puffing and rolling shit up, we can hear you. So I leave. I go down to the lobby, and I take a nap for a couple hours, and number 9 comes up, and it's almost time for us to go, and she's like, I think you should go apologize. Go apologize. Why should I apologize? I did nothing wrong. And she's the peacekeeper at this point. And she's like, so the flight back to Logan and everything will be fine. I'm like, I am not going to, because I'm the middle child, so I'm the one that's always like, yep, you guys get along. Blah, blah, blah. I've had enough. I'm an adult now. I just turned 50. I'm not apologizing. I'm gonna hold my breath until you meet. So anyway, she doesn't talk to me the whole time. Doesn't talk to me at all till we get back to Logan. Doesn't talk to me for a week. She lives in my house. Doesn't talk to me for a week. Amazing. I'm like, and I'm not at fault here. I am not. Catholic guilt. Same thing. I'm like, but I'm not at fault. So I refuse to give in. A week goes by, and we're both in love with my our 4-year-old niece. She's a bundle of love and affection. And I go to visit her, and she's sleeping, and she gets breakfast in bed because my sister, number 5, is her grandmother. And I'm like, we never got that. But anyway, I'm sitting there. I sneak in while she's away because we haven't spoken. But I'm feeling kind of bad. So I sneak into the bed that my niece is in, and I hide under the covers. And she's like, no, she won't outside. And so my sister comes out, and I go, hey, what's for breakfast? She said, breakfast is already done. But what happened was that my niece, perceptive kid, she's like, comes over, she grabs my head, and she grabs my sister's head, and we're on the bed, and she puts them together. And that was the apology. I didn't apologize, and neither did she. That's my story, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Guys, give it up for number 7. So good. So good. You are the reasonable one, I can tell. I don't have any siblings because my parents had me and they were like, whew, no more of that. Too harsh, but very true. Okay. I'm very excited for your next performer. He's fantastic. He is my favorite punk rocker in this entire town. He's so great, super, super funny. Guys, give it up right now for Tiny.
Yeah. Thank you. How you guys doing tonight? Is this on?
It's on.
Yeah, that everyone that has that guy's name is a bully, by the way. Like, if you're not a bully with that name, you figure it out. I was in high school years ago, many years ago. My mom said, Tiny, I'm going out of town for the weekend, and I want absolutely no parties. So my first thought was, I'm having a party! Now, the thing about people-pleasing, addictive personalities, if they invite you over, you want to go. It's going to be a lot of fun. What I thought was going to be the party was like 10, 12 people. And as I went to school that week and the week progressed, it was starting to be like, oh, the guy I don't know in Spanish is now coming to my house, or, you know, the teacher of U.S. history. This is like getting way out of control, way out of control. Now, my mom, for a backstory, lived on a cul-de-sac, which is a road that just stops, I guess. I've been, while I was getting raised, I was like, both like, we had help to clean our house rich, and water goes in mac and cheese poor. So it was very weird for me, no matter what economic setting, I always felt very uncomfortable. Now, this is the point in my life where my mother actually had some coins. So we have this cul-de-sac, and it's my mom's house, and across the street are the Allens, and then next to them are the Bloodsoes. Now, the Bloodsoes, there's a lot of waspiness going on that, like, really would make you hate anyone that was a wasp. Like, Mrs. Bloodsoe was a state senator, and Mr. Bloodsoe was Dr. Bloodsoe. There was like always like a contentious relationship between me and them. I was like playing in the ska punk band, and we were loud and, you know, drinking 40s in the lawn, this sort of thing. So anyway, I realized that this party had gone completely out of control as far as people that were coming. It scared me. And so what I did was that night, I just went over to my sister's house and hid. But when you have that many people that are going to come to your house, there's no height. There's no changing your name and moving to Lexington, Kentucky, and start working at a gas station. They will find you. So I had some friends come over, and they were like, you've got to go home, man. There's like all these people coming over. It's going to be so much fun. And like they're bringing beer, which was like at the time like the ultimate in gold tokens. Like, oh, beer, I'll do anything. So I went home, and I pull up to the driveway, and I get out of my car, and I look, and someone had thrown a dead cat on my mom's front porch stoop area. And now, a bit of a backstory, too. I'm a good person. My dad's a veterinarian. Don't leave, please. I promise you, you're gonna be like, Tiny's okay after this story. My dad's a veterinarian. I've spent literally my adult life improving the lives of animals through service and free work as well. So, being a veterinarian's kid, your gross out factor is pretty low. So what I did is I just kind of gingerly grabbed the cat and set it on the side of the house. 5 minutes later, there is literally 150 17-year-olds at my mom's house. I mean, it was insane and like not fun or comfortable for me. So probably like 15 to 20 minutes in, I was like freaking out to my buddy, and he was like, you know how to get rid of a bunch of he didn't say 17-year-olds. We were 17. He was like, you know these kids today's. No. He was like, you know how you get a party emptied out? What you do is you just walk down there and yell, the cops are coming. And that's what I did, and it worked. Everyone ran. Got out of there so quick. I don't know if these people came in an 18-wheeler, but it must have been a lot of cars because there was a ton of people there. So I'm left in the ashes of this get-together. They stole my PlayStation. They stole my phone, all the beer I had paid for. And I was just like, man. I didn't really have anything past that. I was just like, man. You know how 17-year-old people do. Man. So my friend Warren was there, and his parents had a liquor cabinet, as it happens in high school. There's always the one buddy that can get booze. And so I was like, Warren, this night just was awful. Like, there's like 6 or 7 of us that like, actually, let's hang out. And they came, those 7 dudes came back, and we just like, we drank whiskey, and we played cards, and we were smoking cigars and talking about women and just, you know, just what I wanted the night to be, you know? So we wake up the next day, and what I had forgotten about is this poor cat on the side of the house. So being a veterinarian's kid and a good human, I found an old shoebox. I just like walked out with the shoebox. I put the cat in the shoebox and set it gingerly deep in this gully, which is like, I guess, like white people forest behind your house. I don't know how to describe it. And so I was like, oh, done. So day 1 goes by. Day 2 goes by. And I'm like, I got away with it. So day 3 happens. I'm in my basement using the bathroom, and my brother-in-law knocks on the thing. This is not a live mic, so that sucked. Tap, tap, tap. And he's like, you need to come upstairs. And I was like, all right. At the time, didn't pick up on the sincerity of it. I'm just using the bathroom here. I'll be right up. Maybe 30 seconds, a minute goes by. Tap, tap, tap. You really need to come upstairs. So that's like the point, like even an idiot 17-year-old will pick up on this is not a good situation. So I walk up the stairs, and in the living room is all 4 neighbors and a cop. And I was like, shit! What I actually did was just sat down and said, all right, here's what happened. Let me tell you the full story. I wanted to have a few friends over. My mom told me not to. I did it anyway. It turned into like this big, huge thing. And then like 20 minutes to 30 minutes in, I said the cops were coming and everyone left. And I was like, started crying because I'd felt like I'd lied to my mom, which like, isn't that sweet? See, you thought I was a dick. No, I legitimately, I felt sad because I was like, I lied to my mom, and then there was this like, I was keeping the secret, and then the letting out of the emotion was almost like, everything came out. And I had a cat at the time, and the cat, sweet things that they are, give you it when you really, really need it, hopped on my lap. And then Senator Bledsoe stood up and said, my daughter has had a cat for her whole life. Do you know what happened to that cat? And I literally, in looking back, I really wasn't trying to keep it from anyone. Like, I was just so anxious about the other stuff that I didn't mention it. And I said, yes, there was, when I showed up to this house, the cat was on my doorstep, and I moved it to the side and then eventually moved it to the gully. She said, well, we went and got that cat. We took it to the veterinarian. We had an autopsy, and there's no way that you didn't kill that cat. And I was like, there's a cat on my lap right now. Do I not look like a loving cat owner to you? Senator Bledsoe didn't take that as an answer. She said this was clearly a part of some sort of satanic ritual. Or you're a sociopath. And I said, 1 out of 2. No. I didn't say that. But one thing's for sure, she said, if you don't admit in front of this group and apologize, this cop has assured me that we will press charges and we will be able to get a conviction. And I was like, I don't know why. I usually fold, especially in those days being 17, I fold like a wet napkin. But in the moment I was like, this is wrong, man. Like, I hurt too. And like, I don't want anyone to lose an animal or any animal to be lost, but like, I was not the cause of this. Like, I did not make this happen. And so, no, I won't admit to anything that I didn't do. I am very sad that your animal died. And I'm sorry, but I didn't do anything. Everyone stood up and left. And I turned to my mom and I said, I'm sorry, I lied. But I did not hurt that animal. I would never hurt an animal. 3 days later, I get something in the mail that says, here's your court date. And it had the charges, et cetera, et cetera. So I went to school destroyed. I mean, destroyed. I was like, my mind at the time, I had really mental health issues anyway, hormonal, all the stuff about being 17. And so I just started telling people. And I remember that day was a Wednesday, and the court date was 2 weeks. By that Friday, over 100 people had went to the police station and said I was not involved. And although I needed that justification, or that safety net between the law and myself and what was being accused and what had actually happened, I always knew in my heart that I love animals. Thank you.
Give it up for Tiny for not being a dick. He's a sweetheart. I remember the first day that I was in college when I found out that you could put milk in mac and cheese. And I had a tiny party of like me and my roommates where we just tried it. It was so much fun. I also I want to give it up for Tiny for being extremely popular in high school. He did a good job. He's great. If someone had accused me of hurting an animal in high school, I would not, I'd be dead now. I did not have friends who would go to the police for me, definitely not. But I'm doing okay now, things are good. And I have more performers for you, and I'm very excited to hear the next story that's coming up. Your next performer, I see him all the time at Pick a Side Stupid, which is a show that happens in Quincy on Fridays. It's like a comedic debate show. So basically, people who perform it have to like make up what they're going to say on the spot. And so I know that this guy is not only very funny, he's super sharp. You guys are going to love him to death. Please welcome Matt MacArthur.
Thank you, guys. This is only coincidentally mildly related to Tiny's subject matter there. This is also a story about cats. And first of all, a lot of people really seem to hate cats, you know? I feel like 50% of the time if cats get brought up in a situation, you know, in a conversation, people are like, oh, I hate cats. I can't stand them. I don't know why people even want cats. And they always say the same kind of thing, too. They're like, well, you know, cats don't love you the way a dog loves you. You know, a dog loves you. A cat just kind of tolerates you because you feed it. And I don't think that's true at all, guys. You know, I mean, to me, I think cats are just like people, you know, because some of them are great and some of them are assholes. But for the most part, I think they're just looking for a clean litter box and a sunny spot in the carpet to lay in, like the rest of us. You know? So when I hear someone talk about how much they hate cats, I'm starting to realize, like, oh, you got burned really bad by one cat, didn't you? Right? I had this one cat for a really long time, and she was a great cat. And sure, after a while, you know, things weren't exactly the same as when I first got her, you know. She wasn't exactly jumping up in my arms when I walked in the door. And maybe, you know, I didn't play with her as much as I should have, but we got along, you know, and it was a good thing. But one day I was out in front of my apartment checking the mail, and walking down the sidewalk comes this cat. And I had never seen anything like this cat in my whole life, you know. This is the kind of cat when you see it, you're like, my God, that is a cat. Like, I would pet the shit out of that cat, you know. It's funny because I remember thinking the moment I saw her, I was like, I want that to be my cat. Which was crazy, right? Because I already had a cat and she was wearing a collar. It was stupid. But, man. But I could not get this cat out of my head. A couple days later, I was driving around the neighborhood and I saw the cat sitting on a doorstep waiting to be let in. I was like, oh, that's where the cat lives. And this guy answers the door to let her in. And he's just a loser, you know? He's just in sweatpants and he's all disheveled and he's not even excited to see her, you know? Just not a bad guy, but not a good guy. And I remember thinking, like, what is she doing with him? Like, he doesn't deserve a cat like her. I could treat that cat so much better than he treats that cat. So I kept bumping her into her around the neighborhood, you know, and one day I finally got up the courage to be like, hey, kitty, and she was like, meow, you know, just talking. Another time I just got back from the grocery store, and she was there, and I had a bag of treats for my cat, but I opened it and I gave her one. It was harmless, totally harmless. But the next time I saw her, she just had a look in her eye, and she walked right up to me and started nuzzling her head into my leg. And I don't know what came over me, but next thing I know, I'm petting her, and I'm like scratching her under the chin. And I was like, whoa, what are we doing? Like, we can't do this. This is crazy, okay? Like, I've got a cat, you've got an owner. And she was like, and I was like, can we just talk about this seriously for a second? Like, you know, I can't think straight when you do that. Listen, we can't do this. This has to stop. But of course, it didn't stop. As the weeks went on, it got to the point where when I let my cat out of the house because it was a nice day, you know, she'd be right there and I'd be like, get in before someone sees you. And I'm not proud of it, but we would cuddle in every room in the apartment. And it was just, I was so paranoid back then, you know, everywhere she went, I'm like, you're shedding everywhere. She was never careful. And yeah, maybe that's what I liked about her. I don't know. One day, we had just finished cuddling, and we were lying in bed. You know, she was purring. And I said, look, what is this? Like, what are we? You know, what do you want out of this? And she looked up at me as if to say, like, I don't know. What do you want? I said, listen, I've been thinking about this for a long time, and my apartment allows cats, but I'm only allowed to have one. So I decided that I want you to be my cat. And guys, she actually agreed to it. Like, we were actually going to do this. But that meant that I was going to have to do one of the hardest things I ever had to do in my whole life. I took out an ad on Craigslist, and this young couple showed up, and they had a little girl with them. And, you know, her eyes just lit up when she saw my cat. And maybe that's the one thing I can feel good about now that all this is over, is at least I know, you know, they're taking care of her now. But, man, you should have seen the way she looked at me when she realized that she was going with them. But I had to do it, right? I mean, it was the right thing to do, wasn't it? It's funny how you can justify your own selfishness in these situations, you know? You say, like, I can't keep my cat when I feel that way about another cat. It wouldn't be fair to her. Or, you know, if I don't try, I'm going to spend the rest of my life wondering what could have been. It was a tough decision, okay? You know, Rachel McAdams had a tough decision to make at the end of The Notebook. Granted, there was no cats involved. But I got through it, and after a few days of processing it, I started to allow myself to get excited about what was going to happen. You know, I went out and I bought this brand new litter box, one of the ones with the cover so they have a little privacy. And I got these chew toys, and they were all like inside jokes between me and her. You know, like she'd get them, but you guys wouldn't get them. You know? You like, does she have a unicorn chew toy? I'm like, yeah, it's me. She says I'm a unicorn. So next time I saw her, I was like, listen, I'm trying to be reasonable. I know you can't just up and leave right now, but like soon, right? Like soon you're going to come stay with me and you're going to wear my collar. And she was like, yeah, you know, it's just, but every time we had this conversation, there was some excuse, you know? Oh, I have a vet appointment at the end of the month, and, you know, I've been going to the same vet for years, and if I show up with a different owner, there's going to be questions. So as time kept passing, I started to get more and more frustrated, and, you know, we were fighting a lot. And one day, she came in, and she was just acting different. And then I smelled treats on her breath. And I was like, oh, treats, huh? You said you and him weren't like that anymore. And she tried to come up with something, right? She was like, no, it's not treats. I just had a can of wet food. And I was like, I know what treats smell like, Mittens. How could you do this to me after everything I gave up? And she's like, I never asked you to do any of those things. It turned into this huge fight. And I don't know, maybe I raised my voice, but she scratched me. I don't even fucking know you anymore. You know what? Get out. Good. Go. Go back to your loser owner. You guys deserve each other. Go. Oh, my God. Matt, what did you just do? All right. It's fine. She just needs like a day to cool off, and, you know, she'll be back. She'll be back tomorrow. So the next day, I sat around, waited by the door, and she didn't show up. You know, and the next day, and the next day. And after about a week, I realized, she wasn't going to come back. And my guy friends, they try to help, but you know guys, right? They were just like, dude, you're going to get another cat, all right? I mean, there's a million cats out there. Why don't you just go online? Dude, have you seen the cats online? And I said to him, like, I appreciate it, guys, but you know what I think? I think it's probably best if I just, like, you know, don't have a cat for a while, you know? I think I need to learn how to be happy alone, you know, without a pet. And it's been just over a year, I'd say, and I gotta say, guys, like, I'm doing pretty good. Things are going well for me right now. Yeah, things are all right. But I never threw away the litter box or the chew toys. And a lot of times when I'm watching TV late at night, I keep the volume really low because I'm scared that I might miss it if there's the sound of little claws on the door. It's so pathetic, but even after everything she did to me, you know, I know if she showed up tomorrow, I'd still let her in. And that was a story about cats.
Oh, that was epic. Give it up for Matt MacArthur. So funny. I'm trying to think of the worst thing my roommate's cat did to me. But actually, I think that my roommate had a cat that I called Cat City. And I did not know the gender of the cat, which is why I was just like, this cat's a plurality. We're just going to go with that. And the cat did, it chose 4:15 on the dot to break the lock on my door and come into my room every night in order to just put its butt on my face. Which is pretty much how I also feel about dudes. That is kind of how I feel about how dudes act. So right on, Matt MacArthur. Nice job. All right, your next performer, this guy, he's so fantastic. He recently won an award for storytelling from Mass Mouth, which is a different storytelling thing around town that you should also go to, but you know, we're better. They're also great. And he's super, super great. I think you're going to love him. Please put your hands together right now for Howard Cox.
When I fly on an airplane, I like to make certain that I take several things with me. I need to take a neck pillow, I need to take a book, and I also need to take my big ears. Let me explain. I'm one of those people who has very difficult time when I fly on the airplane. When the plane takes off, I'm absolutely fine. When the plane is going up and then leveling off, I'm absolutely fine. The moment that the plane begins to descend, my ears feel like they are going to burst. I'm not the only person that's ever had this problem. It just is the most horrible thing that ever happens to me. So on one of those times when I was on the airplane, going up, plane taking off, coming down, my ears were just about to burst. And I did not know what I was going to do. The flight attendant came up to me and said, "Sir, I think you're having problems." I said, "Yes, I definitely am." She said, "I think it's probably your ears." I said, "Yeah, they definitely is." She said, "Look, I think I know what to do for you." So she went back to the back, to the galley, and she got 2 of those cups, the cups that they put soda in. And then she also got 2 paper towels, and she wet them. And then she put 1 paper towel in the bottom of 1 cup, and then the other paper towel in the bottom of the other cup, and she brought them back to me. And she said, "Sir, I want you to put these over your ears." Now, that's a little weird, but I was in so much pain at that moment, I did. I have never felt relief like that in my life. And the plane was able to land, and I was okay. So I actually learned something. You know, many people, when they get on planes, they do things like chewing gum or yawning or a variety of other kinds of things. What I learned was that I needed those cups. And so whenever I got on the plane and the plane was beginning to descend, I would always ask for what I now refer to as my big ears, and they would bring them back to me. I would put them over my ears. Everything would be absolutely fine. I did this for years. And then one day, I got on the plane, as usual, asked for my big ears. The woman gave them to me. Everything's fine. And then as we got closer to the ground, she came back to me and she said, "Sir, I need you to know that we need to pick up all the service items because the plane is about to land, and we can't land without all the service items picked up." And I said, "Remember, ma'am, I need these cups because they are for my ears." She said, "I understand, but the plane can't land unless we have all of the service items." I said, "I understand, ma'am, but I need them." She said, "I understand, sir, but we need to pick these things up." And so now we are hollering at each other. "Sir, I need those cups." "Ma'am, I can't. I'll give them to you." "Sir, I need those cups." I said, "My ears are going to blow up." "Sir, I need those cups." And then I looked around. And everybody in the plane was completely still because they were listening to us. And she decided that one of us needed to be an adult, and it was not me at that moment. So she lowered her voice, and she said, "Sir, I need you to know this doesn't work. This is a thing that we give to kids when they're having problems and we want them to concentrate on something else. This does not work. Besides, you look pretty stupid." So at that moment, the only thing I could do was to give her my cups. And so the plane landed. And when the plane landed, I realized that I had a problem. Because irrespective of what she said, I know that those cups actually work for me. So I didn't know what I was going to do. And then I decided, well, maybe the best thing I could do is I'll get my own cups. So whenever I would get on the plane, I would make certain that I took my own cups with me. And then when the plane was beginning to descend, I would pull out my cups. Now, I didn't always have the warm compresses, but I found that I didn't always need them. And I would put my cups over my ears, and I did this for years. It was fine. And then, not so long ago, I got to take a plane trip to someplace I needed to go, and I was running late, and I had to go to the drugstore. I had to buy a whole bunch of things. I had to buy toothpaste. I didn't have any cups. I bought a whole bunch of cups. I didn't have time to really pack all my stuff, so I just threw all of this stuff in my suitcase. I got on the plane, and the plane went up. It began to go down. I pull out my cups. I have them over my ears. Everything's fine, except I look next, and the woman that was sitting next to me was having a problem. See, it's a little strange sitting next to somebody sitting there with cups over their ears. And she was trying to say something, and I wanted to say something to her. I didn't know what to say to her. She wanted to say something, and I knew she was having a problem. So I just looked at her and I said, "Ma'am, would you like a cup?" And the woman just stared at me. And I thought, I do not know what is going to happen next. I just thought, well, just wait for it. And she just stared at me. And she said, "Yes, I would." So I had extra cups in my bags, and I gave her a cup. So now the two of us are sitting there with cups over our ears. And I'm good, and she's good. But the man next to her is looking at her, and the man is having a serious problem. He began to look all around the plane to see if he could find another seat, just someplace else to go. And he's looking, and I could see how uncomfortable this man is as he's looking at this woman. And then he looks down at me, and I have on cups also. And he just stared, and then he said, "May I have some too?" And I said, "All right." and I gave him cups. And so now the three of us are actually sitting there. We've got cups on our ears. I do not know these people. I don't know if they know each other, but we are sitting there, three adults with cups on our ears. The plane landed. We took the cups down. We never spoke to each other. And now when I get on the plane, I like to make certain that I always have a neck pillow, a book, and extra cups because I know why I need them. But every once in a while, I have learned that other people need a big ear too.
Give it up for Harold Cox one more time. That was wow. I hate flying. I don't like bumping. I would like to ride a plane with Harold Cox because that way I'm nervous as it is. There's no way God let me die next to a guy with cups on his ear. There's no way it's not. It's not gonna be the last thing I see. It's not gonna be Harold Cox with cups on his ear. It's not gonna. We're gonna be okay. So I was gonna ride at him. And that's why he's the 2019 Mass Mouth Big Mouth Off champion. I was one of the judges in the contest, and I have to admit, I voted for you for the finals. And I'm still waiting on my check, Harold. What's the deal there? No, I'm kidding. He was great. He was great then. He was great tonight. So speaking of great, I insist on introducing her. I didn't want to just come up here. She just bounced on stage and then start talking. I have to introduce her because she does a lot of stuff. Like I said, she does stand-up. She does music. She does music and stand. I hope she'll promote her show coming up. And she is the host of our story called Boston Show because I'm a chicken and I can't host very well, but I like her to do it because she's great and she gets a lot of guests. And I always like hearing her tell stories. So welcome up the host for the evening, Angela Sawyer. Come on up.
I hate going last because it makes me feel like it's my birthday party now, and I don't want any more birthdays. So I will tell you, in about a week and a half, something like that, I'm doing a long set where I talk for like 45 minutes across Central Square at Improv Boston. And I don't play music, I play music. And some people are going to play music while I talk, and then some other people will tell stories in the middle. Also, it'll be a nice time. It's called Warm Stories and Horrible Noises, because that's what's happening at the show. And you can come to that if you want. Let's see. I have had a ton of weird jobs. Examples. For a while, in the 90s, I worked in Kendall Square on an all Frank Sinatra radio show. It was every Saturday. It was 8 hours long, just Frank Sinatra. I worked there for about 6 months, and then one day I was a button presser. And after about 6 months, the producers came up to me, and they were like, what we're going to do is stop paying you in money and start paying you in frozen steak. And I was like, that is too Italian for me. Probably also for Frank. I could use money. So I stopped doing that. I also had a job for a while where I autographed baseballs for a living. I was the not very famous Red Sox, Rico Petrocelli. Only old people know who he is, so if you don't know who he is, don't worry, you're not missing a thing. I have no idea who he is. I just know how to spell his name. Sometimes people are like, well, how did you learn to, write? And I'm like, oh, I've been writing since like 2nd grade. I know how to write cursive great. It's not a problem. Basically, I would take a baseball and write Rico Petrocelli's name in my handwriting, and then someone would sell it to an unsuspecting 10-year-old on eBay, which is very sad and mean. And it is how I survived to eat mac and cheese during the 90s. One day, maybe the worst thing that happened at that job is that one weekend I was like in a bar somewhere, and over the news, the TV said that Rico Petrocelli died. And I was like, oh shit, what happens to my job? Oh, this could be real bad. And I went in on Monday, and they were like, yep, back to work, here you go. So it was no problem. It was not a big deal. Just kept doing that for another 3 years. Don't buy autograph stuff. It's not real. The weirdest job that I've ever had in my life, for a while, I wrote music reviews for a newspaper in Cleveland. And the only thing that is weird about that is that I had never been to Cleveland. I wrote about music for a living for a while, and that's a real stupid thing. Don't do it. Basically, sometimes people are like, how would you get a job writing music or doing any of these other things? Here's how you get a weird job. All you have to do is when crazy people or, fucked up people of whatever sort speak to you, don't interrupt them. Just let them keep talking. And eventually, one of them will give you a job. That is just how you get weird jobs. That is the truth. So I knew a guy named Justin, and all that I really knew about Justin was that he liked weird bands, but he only liked weird bands from the state of Michigan. So in my friend group, he was called Michigan Justin. And Michigan Justin, by the way, you don't do that. No one does that. That's not, nobody is like, what separates my taste, my aesthetic from everyone else's is geography. No one thinks that works. So one day, Michigan Justin, during the 90s, it was a long time ago, but if you didn't see a person, that was not something to be worried about because they were just out there somewhere and you didn't have to know. So I hadn't seen Michigan Justin for a while, and one day he called me up on a landline phone, and he was like, hey, I'm in Cleveland. And I was like, oh, do you need help? And he was like, no, I moved here. And he goes, I got this great job as an editor for a paper. I want you to write music reviews for me. And immediately I was very suspicious because writing for music is not a real job. You do not have to pay people to do that. They will do it for you for free. Since time, forever, and today. You just get someone under the age of 30, and you go, I need somebody who has opinions, and they're like, me. It's really simple. It's not hard. So I was like, okay, whatever. Sure, you can't find anyone in the whole state of Ohio who has opinions. Cool. So he was like, I'm going to send you some CDs in the mail, and you can write them up, and it'll be great. And I was like, okay, whatever. And like I said, crazy people, you don't interrupt them. I didn't ask whether there was payment for this. I didn't ask any questions. I just said, sure. So a couple weeks later, I got a huge check, like a $300 check in the mail out of nowhere from some random place in Cleveland. I was like, woo, good for me. I'm cashing this. And then nothing else happened. And about 2 weeks after that, Justin called me up on the phone again. He was like, hey, where's that review? And I was like, oh, what do you need? And he was like, did you get the CDs in the mail? And I was like, no. And he was like, oh, shit. Well, figure something out. Figure something out. So I was like, okay, what am I writing about? And he was like, figure something out, Angela. I was like, okay. So the very first review I did was for my band, which had never been to Cleveland. And we straightened it up a little bit after that, and I started getting packages in the mail. And I figured, one, I'd written a review of my own band, and two, we liked weird bands, and Justin had weird taste. So I assumed I would be getting weird local bands in the mail from him. But instead, I got these packages with Billy Joel and Livingston Taylor CDs in them. And I was like, I have no opinions about this. I don't know what to say. So I thought about it really hard. I was like, they paid me real cash. I have to do something. So eventually I was like, you know what? If you got a mom, she's going to love this dude, Billy Joel. And I sent it off, and he was like, wow, great job. You're amazing. And we kept doing it. And little by little, it was just a little matter of scheduling. Little by little, the packages started showing up later or missing or super late. And pretty soon, I was writing reviews of just CDs of famous people that I picked out of the paper. I would just be like, who is touring the country right now? Livingston Taylor, amazing. If you got a cousin, she is going to love this dude, Livingston. And I would send them off to him, and the more I lied, the more he enjoyed it. So Eventually, he called up and he was like, we're super pleased with you. And he kept sending me money. And I was like, whew, okay. He's like, we're so pleased with you. You're so fantastic. I want to expand your job. I want you to write show previews. And I was like, what does that mean? And he's like, well, there's a schedule at this bar or someplace. I'll tell you who's going to be on the bill. You just figure out what to say about them. And I was like, I've never seen these bands. And he was like, just figure it out. And so I would like look up pictures. This was before you could send sound on the internet. I would just look up pictures of the band and I would be like, these guys are rebels. Look at their shirts. and I would write them up. And just like with the CDs, like occasionally there would be missed messages or the information would come too late. And so very shortly after that, I was writing reviews of rock shows in Cleveland that I had not attended. And I would just say, like, oh my God, did you see their haircuts? And there was almost a fight by the bathroom, and that worked every time. It was true every single time. It was totally fine. And Justin called me up again. He was like, man, you're killing it. You're so great at this. I want to expand your job even more. I want you to write a big feature, as many words as you can come up with, any topic you want. And I was like, any topic? He was like, that's right. You're our star now. Anything you want. I was like, okay, dude. So I wrote about my favorite 1960s cult sex group leader, Father Yod. Father Yod is a real human being. You can look him up on Wikipedia. There are bad documentaries about him. He is a guy who fought in the Korean War, moved home to California, and was like, that sucked. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grow my beard out and wear white see-through linen and hang out with 18-year-old girls all the time. And he did that, and they also hung out with him and wore see-through linen. And they started a macrobiotic restaurant together, which was very popular with Hollywood important people because you could see through the linen, and people like that in a waitress. So they made a ton of money, and Father Yod bought a fleet of white and gold limousines, and there are many, many pictures of him with a bunch of ladies in see-through linen draped over the limousines, and they would just ride around town and be like, ooh, where are they going? Let's go there. And they made so much money, they bought themselves toys. So out and back behind the restaurant, they had guitars and like a drum set, and they recorded themselves playing instruments that they did not know how to play. And then they made records of that and sold the records at the cash register of the restaurant. And I love those records. They are bad. They're very, very terrible. You will not like them. I love them. So I wrote this up, and I sent it to Justin. Justin printed it in the paper, and he called me up on the phone, and he was like, such a great job. This was so popular, it got printed around the country. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. I'm famous to no one. Great. Problem was, one of the places around the country that it got printed was San Francisco, and one of the only male people in Father Yod's sex cult, named of Rainbow Jean, lived there and read it and got very upset with me. So I got a phone call from a stranger who was a big-time newspaper editor in San Francisco, a lady with like shoulder pads on her shoulder pads. And she called me up and she was like, we're going to get sued because of you, so we're fucking you over. You have lied about, you've slandered one of our readers. And I was like, no, I haven't. I just said, like, yeah, okay, I said that this guy did a lot of drugs and had a lot of group sex and didn't wear pants for like 10 years. And she's like, yeah, he's pissed. And I was like, but I have pictures of him doing all those things. Like, I was this guy, I was like, and she's like, well, do you want to write a rebuttal to the letter that he sent the paper? And I was like, sure, I'll write a rebuttal. So I wrote a letter to Rainbow Jean. I was like, dear Rainbow Jean, I think you're great. I was you once for Halloween. No one knew who I was. But I think you're amazing. I know you don't like it that I said that you had a lot of group sex and that you did drugs and wore no pants. Here's the photos of you doing those things. You see your eyes are very dilated. You don't have any pants. There's a lot of ladies there, no clothes. Like, that's clearly what's happening. If you weren't having, and Rainbow Jeans, I read his letter, and his letter was like, I was never in any orgies. And I was like, if you weren't, dude, matter of scheduling. Like, you just are in this, you're in the game. Did you think you sounded like U2? You did not. You sounded like you've never held an instrument. So it worked. Nobody got sued. I didn't get in trouble. They didn't take all my money away, whatever. Epilogue to the story, about 5 years after that, I was in a terrible little hardcore band. We were an art hardcore band, which means we couldn't play, and also we wore costumes. We were silverware. I was the fork. People did not like us. I was the singer, and my singing is like, bah, 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 so no one liked it. And so we went on tour because we couldn't get anybody in town to see us. So we went on tour. We went on a little tour around the country, and I finally went to Cleveland. And we played in this little art gallery. And when you play shows like that, no one comes to those shows. So we went there, and there were like 30 people there. And we were like, oh, my God, this place is amazing. They're so cool here. And everybody played, and we played. And people were watching us, and we were like, man, this place is super, super great. And we got done. I was like, bah! And then we stopped. And then this woman runs up to the stage, and she's like, are you Angela Sawyer? And I was like, yeah, I am. And she was like, I've been coming to shows in this town for like 5 years. Where the fuck have you been? And I was like, oh, well, I guess we must have missed each other. Like, it must have been a matter of scheduling. Like, we just missed each other there. That's the story of the weirdest job I had. You guys are amazing. Guys, that's our show. You did it. Everyone was so, so fantastic. Ken Green, come back up here for a sec. Everyone told such great stories. You guys are amazing. Did you have fun? Yeah. We do this at other places sometimes, and we have a website where you can find out where and when that is. And
If I update it at the right time, you can find out.
yeah, we'll find you. We have a mailing list, stuff like that. We'll find you. We're not that bad at it. And
Twitter, Facebook on there.
do we have a Twitter? News to me.
I tweet.
Cool. Anyway, we'll be back here at some time in the future also, and we were really, really glad to have you tonight. It was lovely. Thank you.